I created a mould from the sculpture I did in the last video and then poured 4 to 5 layers of latex into the mould and left them to dry overnight. Then used a bit of talcum powder so it wouldn't stick to itself, and then removed the mask from the mould. Then I trimmed off any flashings, which is any little sort of scraggly bits of latex that's on the edges of the mask, and cut out the eye holes and the mouth hole, and then I painted the whole thing black with some acrylic paint. Then what I did was I took a colour called crimson and dry brushed that over the top. And what I'm doing when I'm dry brushing is I'm wiping off most of the paint off the brush and then just tickling the surface of the mask with the very tips of the bristles, and that deposits a very small amount of paint onto the raised and bumpy bits of the mask, and then all the little recesses and stuff stay the original black colour, and it just adds depth to the mask and just makes it look better. Then what I did was, the first layer of crimson wasn't showing up much, so I added like a flesh tint, which is like a sort of off-white colour, to the crimson to make it show up a bit more, and then I just dry brushed that over the top, and that's the colour you can now see. I used a mixture of crimson and cadmium red for this, as well as this flesh tint off-white colour, and basically each layer you apply, you make it lighter each time, and just by tickling the surface of the mask with the tips of the bristles, you're only adding a very small amount of paint each time, so you can just highlight those very top areas on the mask, and it makes all those textures that you put in and any shapes and patterns and things that you sculpted into the mask show up a lot better. And as you can see, the recesses still maintain that dark black colour, which was the base coat. Then I created a basic horn shape out of clay and left it to dry overnight. Then I covered the whole thing in a layer of Vaseline, just to help when I demold this later. Then I applied 2 layers of latex over the top of the horn to create the horn, and I left it to dry in between each layer. You can speed up the process by drying it with an hairdryer. Once it was dry, I applied a layer of talcum powder over the top to stop it sticking to itself, and then very carefully and slowly peeled it from the clay sculpture. And when you've peeled the whole thing off, you have a basic horn shape, but obviously at the moment it doesn't look like much, because obviously it's not got anything in it to maintain its shape. So what I did was I added some cotton balls to it to make the horns stay in their shape, and also to make them 3D instead of flat. And just basically stuffed in as many as I could until I got the shape and thickness that I wanted for the horn. Once that was done, I painted it in a layer of black acrylic paint and then left that to dry. Then I took the fleshy sort of off-white colour and dry brushed that over the top, and by doing that, that made all the textures and stuff in the latex show through, which I'd sculpted onto the clay horn. And as you can see, it sort of adds texture to the horn and makes it look a bit more realistic. I added 1 layer of the sort of off-white creamy colour mixed with a tiny bit of black, and then added a second layer where it was just that colour on its own, so it really showed up those highlights. Then what I did was I covered the whole of the last cotton ball in latex to form a base on the horn, and then used that to stick it to the mask. And I did the same for the other horn as well. Then I applied a bit of latex around the edges where the mask joined on to the horn, and touched that up with the same red colour that I used to paint the mask. I did the same thing for both horns, and when I did that, the mask was complete, and that's what it looks like. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.